doing nothing is actually doing a lot of something. It's doing a lot of something for Vladimir Putin. And I'm open to the possibility that things are being done that we can't know about. But from kind of an American standing in the world, the American standing in the world today is Donald Trump was told February 27 that the Russians were paying to kill American soldiers. And the public statement is that he will do nothing. How does that land?
Well, I think it's very telling of Donald Trump's failure to live up to the responsibilities of chief executive and commander-in-chief. It's clear from the various reporting that he does not read the PDB. The PDB is called the President's Daily Brief for a reason. It is the intelligence community's best intelligence and analysis that's brought to the person who sits in that Oval Office who's supposed to keep this country safe. And so it sounds as though he was aware of this information somehow, but has not been focused on it. And while he's flirting with Vladimir Putin, continues to, while bounties are being offered, according to this reporting and this intelligence, on the heads of American soldiers, I find it's just reprehensible that he's ignoring that. And he continues to focus on his political interests and what is going to advance his own personal interests, as opposed to protecting not just the interests of the American people, but the lives of American soldiers. And so it's not surprising, and I'm sure it's not surprising to Vladimir Putin, that Donald Trump is not paying attention to these very important matters.
Director Brennan, if I could just push back respectfully, how does it not catch the attention of an American president when there's an object in his PDB that says lethal threats to American soldiers? And if that's true, if that story holds, what does that say about the person who is currently our country's commander-in-chief?
Well, I think it shows that, as many of us have said for quite some time, he is unfit for this high esteemed office. It's certainly something that would be brought to the attention of any of the presidents I worked for. And I know that the presidents that I worked for would have seized upon this and tried to address it as soon as the information was deemed to be credible and the analysis came forward. I was President Clinton's daily PDB briefer for about a year, and I was in countless PDB sessions with President Bush as well as President Obama. And I know that all three of those presidents would have acted quickly and swiftly upon this. And so, again, I think it just reveals the lack of focus, lack of interest, and the lack of determination on the part of Donald Trump to do what a president needs to do to protect our soldiers who are in harm's way.
Michael, I'm glad that you are here today. I have tried every day to sort of have people like yourself explain that intelligence is the most secret kind of tip sheet in the world. And in the months and weeks and years after 9/11, I went in, the press folks went in after the PDB was briefed to George W. Bush. And so I know what that threat sheet must have looked like. I didn't see it every day, but I know what it must have done to a president who views protecting the country as his most sacred duty. I'm sure President Obama and President Clinton had the same reaction. But can you just explain that, at least in the case of a terror attack, everything is uncorroborated until the terror attack happens? What is that product, the PDB?
Nicole, you're exactly right. And this excuse of it wasn't yet corroborated, so we didn't focus on it. I mean, I used to come in every Tuesday. It was Terrorism Tuesday with President Bush and President Obama. John was there for many of these. And the fact is, we did this weekly to a great level of detail. And if we only waited for corroborated or confirmed intelligence that we knew was right, we could have done that about once every 2 or 3 years. And the fact is, the flow of intelligence to protect the nation is a constant source of attention for the president, or at least it should be. We start with an enormous amount of threats, and something like this, the idea that it would not be briefed early and often, that it would not be discussed, and that options would not be generated and brought to the president about how the U.S. could protect its troops, how it could protect its allies, and what policy steps might be taken, because that's the purpose of the intelligence. The intelligence is there to drive action. And I can guarantee you one thing. One action that wouldn't be recommended to the president after this sort of report is, as Speaker Pelosi said, to actually give Vladimir Putin a benefit and invite him back into the G7. that is just proof positive that in this case, the president didn't spend time on this threat to U.S. troops.
Let me ask you to deepen that explanation a little bit for us, Michael, because it would appear, based on the first New York Times report, that an NSC meeting was convened to do just that. And if you've convened a meeting to talk about this intelligence, maybe a month after it was first in the PDB, doing nothing probably isn't on the list of things you're going to take to the president. You're probably going to break it to him gently that Vladimir Putin is killing American soldiers in Afghanistan. The New York Times has reported that at least 3 are believed to have been killed in connection with this program. We don't know if that is what they were going to take the president, but would doing nothing except trying to squeeze him into the G8 again be on that list?
Doing nothing would not be on that list. Inviting him to the G8 would not be on that list. Calling the reports about this when they come out a hoax would not be on that list. All of those things contribute to, I think, a sense of superiority in Putin's case over the president, an ability to manipulate this president in a way that fundamentally, whether it is meddling in elections or it is targeting U.S. troops, that Putin has the upper hand. And that's really a tragedy for the country.
It is a tragedy to the country, Director Brennan, and to see him use the same smear for a Russian program that, based on the New York Times reporting, may be connected to the deaths of 3 Marines, to use the same smear he used for an investigation run by Robert Mueller into him, to call it a hoax. Where are we? I mean, is that really what he would look into the eyes of those parents and say?
Well, I think we've seen that Donald Trump relies on disinformation, dishonesty, and mischaracterizations of what reality is. And to do it in this instance, when in fact U.S. lives may have been lost as a result of this program being run by the Russians that he ignored, it's just ludicrous that he is not focusing on this. As you pointed out, there was a meeting held at some level of the NSC, maybe at the principal's level, which meant that National Security Advisor Robert O'Brien would have chaired that. It is up to that National Security Advisor to ensure that not just the other heads of departments and agencies are focused on this, but that a president of the United States is. So I am very curious as to what Robert O'Brien and Donald Trump spoke about, because they really needed to look, as Michael said, at the different options to mitigate the threat. Take action against the Russians. Maybe, tell the Russians that they're going to lose additional diplomats. Work with our allies and partners who also are in Afghanistan and who are fighting next to our troops. Their troops' lives are on the line as well. But again, doing nothing and enhancing the relationship with Russia, that is the exact opposite of what should have been done.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.